Hi, hey Russ here. Welcome back to the shop. Um, Today we're going to talk about how to drill your bench dog holes in your benches, especially if you can't do it with the drill press. And then there are occasions when you're not going to be able to. It's just that simple. So in order to make that hole exactly perpendicular to your work surface, I made a little jig. Now again, remember, as I've said before in my other videos, I use only one paddle bit for all my drilling for bench dog holes. That way they're all exactly the right size. So now we're going to talk about the jig I made and how to make it and how to use it so that you can use a spade bit like this in order to do your drilling. First off, let's talk about the bit. It has a point at this end, obviously it's flat, and it tapers down here. And this has what I call the Goldilocks zone between here and here. And what that means is this area of the shaft is all the same diameter. When you get up here, it starts to taper down. When you get down here, it starts to flatten out, so the diameter is different. But between here and here, the diameter is the same on this bit. And so that's the area that we want to reference when we're drilling. Between this area here and this point, we will control keeping this bit exactly perpendicular as we drill. So this area here has to ride in the jig, as well as this point always against the bottom of the hole, making contact. And that, between those 2 points, that holds this bit. So you start to make the jig that we're going to use. You start with a board that is perfectly square. It's 12 inches long, 1.75 inches wide, and 2 3/4 inches tall. And I take, and at 7 inches from one end, I cut a piece off. So now you have a 7 and a 5-inch piece. I take the 5-inch piece and I cut a 1-inch block off of it this way. So I now have a 1-inch and a 1 3/4 inch piece. And that gives me a 7-inch by 1 3/4 by 2 3/4 inch piece here for this block, the biggest one. The second one is 1 3/4 by 1 3/4 by 5 inches. And this one is 5 inches by 1 inch by 1 3/4. And so these 3 blocks make up the jig. You take your first block and you drill a hole using your paddle bit halfway up into the block, making sure that you're exactly perpendicular to your surface, which will be in turn make it perpendicular to the surface you're drilling into. The rest of the way from this point up, you drill the hole out to whatever this diameter of this shaft is. Now I go a 1/64 of an inch less than what this shaft mics out to, and then I use this by putting it in the hole, hooking it up to my drill, and I spin it, and it burnishes that hole out to the diameter of this so that you get a nice snug fit on your drill bit when it's in that Goldilocks zone in the hole. And so it's important that that hole is pretty much not only perpendicular, but stays the diameter of your bit to help keep it from varying. So by burnishing it, the hole will last longer. So on your first one, you have the hole through to here, and then the paddle bit hole is through here, and you cut this area away so that you have a chip relief. So all the chips can come out as you're drilling using this block. Take the block number 1 and put it on there, and put this on your drill. And lock it down. Take block number 3, which on this one, I guess I should have told you this. On this one, the paddle bit, I drill a hole through here in the center again, making it as perpendicular to everything. Now you take block number 1 on your drill, take block number 3 and put it on there also. This is our block that we're going to drill into. Now I kind of hung it off over the bench here a little bit so that when I drill this hole, it won't drill into my workbench. So you take your piece with block number 1 and block number 3 on there. You mark where your hole is, put the point of your bit right in that hole. Drop your pieces down so that they're flat on the surface. If you need to clamp it down, clamp it down. These blocks now are what making this drill bit be exactly perpendicular to your surface. And holding that in place, you're going to drill down till you run out of the Goldilocks zone in this top block. So you just start it up and drill out. Now you take the drill bit out, and now you have a little bit there. Put that back in the hole, find the center, put this block down. Now that is perpendicular again because you're riding in the Goldilocks zone on your drill bit. And now you drill a little further. And now you can take this out and take block number 2, which has just the hole all the way through it, the diameter of your bit, and drop it in there and put this one on there. And now you can drop this down in there, bottom your bit, your block out, make sure you're centered, and now you can finish drilling. Now it was starting to bust through at the bottom. I'm not worried about it coming out the bottom at this point, but you could drill up to 3.5 inches using this method and using this particular bit. And I now have a hole drilled in my block. So now you can just take your bench dog and fit it into the hole, and then you can check it to see if it's straight 90 degrees in 2 directions, which this appears to be. So now my hole is perfect. My dowel is exactly 90 degrees to my surface here. So this hole now will hold the bench dog and hold it straight. So, and that's just that simple. So you have your 3 set blocks. And I showed you how to make them. I showed you how to use them. And so that's how I drill my holes perpendicular anywhere I do it, and I can't do it with the drill press. When you drill out these holes on your block, make sure if you can to do it on a drill press, because it's critical that these are exactly perpendicular to your surface that you're drilling to guide your drill bit straight. So just make sure that these are perfectly straight, and like I said, a drill press would be even better to do it with. So and that's it in a nutshell. If you have any questions about how this works and how to drill these, you can let me know. Now, there is one more thing I want to talk about real quick here, and that is the set screw that I use on my dog holes. On the outside dog holes of my workbench, I go around the perimeter with bench dog holes 4 inches apart, except for in this area right here. On the other side, I had the dog holes on the edge, but out here I don't. And that's just nice to have that flat all the way out sometimes. So this gives me almost anywhere I want to do something, I can use a setup of the bench dog holes around the perimeter. So, but like now, I put these anchor bolts in here to use this to hold my piece as a vise, to hold something and clamp it to the tabletop. And I talked about this before, but in order to use this, I use a set screw in the edge going in this way. I just use a 1/4 inch set screw, and it's a 1/4 inch by 5/16 long set screw. I drill a hole with my predetermined bit, which is this bit is an 11/64 bit. And I drill that hole straight in till it goes into the hole, usually about 1 inch below the top of the hole is about where I think the best place to have your bench dog hole. So you drill this hole in till it goes in, then you take your set screw and you just screw it into the hole. If you put this onto a drill with an Allen, and put it in there. You can just drive it in, it'll cut its own threads on your wood, depending on what kind of wood you're using. So, and once you've done that, then what I can do quite simply is when I'm ready and I want to lock something down like this, that's what the set screw helps me do. So whether it's this or a wood screw or whatever I want to use, I can loosen this up now and take these out. And I have my bench hold dog back, and I save these for the next time I need them. So set screws, I've talked about them before. They're actually very handy to have in your work bench, in your dogs. Because sometimes I like to be able to put something in the hole and just lock it down at an exact height that I want. And then I can just lock it down with the set screw. So putting the set screw on the outside holes is easy enough. You just go straight in from the outside and then you tap it with the set screw. But on the interior hole, you have a slightly different issue. Because obviously you can't go straight in if the hole's back in here further. So in order to get a set screw on a hole that's inside the surface, I take and I drill a hole at an angle, and it's 3/4 of an inch away from the hole. So what I did was, on my block that has this hole for the drill bit, it also will now fit over a bench dog on that hole. And what I did was I drilled a hole from here down through it so that it comes out on the bottom 3/4 of an inch from the edge of the dog hole. So that means that this angle here is somewhere between 45 and 50 degrees. The angle's not critical, but what I did here was quite simply by having that angle, this is the start of the hole into your surface. And if you measure up where it comes out right at the edge of the hole, that's right at 1 1/8 away from the top of the surface. That means that that hole where it comes through is going to be at 1 1/8 from the top of the hole. So it's recessed down far enough that as long as you put your bench dog down at least 2 inches into the hole, then you'll be able to use the set screw to lock it down. On the interior hole, by going in at an angle, you can get that same effect. So that this hole here I pre-drilled using this board and putting it on a bench dog like so. And then I was able to take my drill and my drill bit, start it here and drill this down, and I can set this wherever I want this to be in relationship to my bench dog. Set this down, and now I can drill this hole down into the bench dog hole, and when I get done I can put a set screw in there, which I've got here, and I can use that set screw now to screw it down until it makes contact to my bench dog when I put a bench dog in the hole. So the set screw is a handy little feature to have on your bench dogs and be able to lock something in place. Whether it's this or it's a jig or something, it's actually, I found more and more uses for it after I started doing this. So the set screw is also kind of nice to have, as well as the consistent bench dog holes. Anyway, I hope this enlightened you as to how I do it and what I do and why, and especially like about the set screw, because I've been putting these set screws in all the dog holes as I've needed it, but to have all these have their own set screw is actually very handy, whether they're an inside hole or an outside hole. So, and with this jig setup, you should be able to do that without any problem. I think I gave you enough instructions to build your own, if that's what you want to do, and you can do this with any spade bit. So you can make your bench dogs any size you want. Just remember to always use only one bit, whether it's a 3/4, a 1 inch, or a 20 millimeter. It doesn't matter. If you do a spade bit, makes it much easier to hog out the material when you drill the holes. A lot easier than with a Forstner bit, believe me. So always protect this bit and keep it. I keep this, and I keep my jig and my one bit, and I keep them all together for all the pieces. so that this thing can, so that and when I store it, I'll be able to find all the pieces later on without any problem. So, if you have any questions, give me a holler. If you have any comments or observations, please, I love to read them. Please like this video if you did. Most importantly, though, come back because there's plenty more. We're nowhere near done. We'll see you again very soon. Bye.